Hey, it's Kane Minkus here with Industry Rockstar, the number one global business training company, and Kane and Alessia. And I'm very excited to be interviewing someone who's been a longtime friend and a brilliant colleague of ours at Industry Rockstar. This is Tony Flowers. Tony Flores. And we are in matching baseball caps tonight. It is a casual one. It's late in the night here in California. It's after work for Tony. And Tony's actually become a new dad, actually. So we should just say congratulations to Tony for being part of the dad club now, because
Yes,
now he's a real man,
that's
taking
right.
taking care of someone else other than himself for the
Yeah,
first time
thank
in his
you. Thank you.
life. Yes. So Tony's a real young, and how old are you, Tony? Now you're young 20s, right?
25,
25,
25,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm mid 20s. Okay, so you're slowly pulling out of the baby
Yeah.
phase.
I'm not a,
Um,
I'm not a young guy anymore. People aren't impressed with the age anymore.
well, it's not too bad, but
Yeah.
um, and I think Tony, you started working with us when you were 19. Is that right?
It was a little bit after that. It was my sophomore year of university, actually. So 21, 22, somewhere in that
Okay,
age.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Tony was managing large ad spends for us, including he must have managed close to. We've done about 10 million in the last 8 years. So Tony's probably been managed and oversaw $2 to $3 million of our ad spend over
Mhm.
the years that he was with us. Plus, he has managed and consulted on millions of dollars of ad spend for large companies like Rich Dad, which is Robert Kiyosaki's training company, and he's consulted global companies on their ad spend and media buying. But not just that, but he's also been someone who people have turned to about optimizing their marketing funnels to make sure that their ad spend is working. So in this interview, what we're going to talk about with Tony is what do experts need to know? And I will tell you that even I've watched even experts at other companies that we've worked with say, Tony, we we need your expertise and help to refine. He's just really brilliant. He's currently a growth hacker at a company called Connectifier. He's been hired on internally by several companies that are growing rapidly to get his brilliance and expertise. So in this interview, we're going to talk about what a business owner really needs to know to do media buying effectively. So we're going to look at media buying. We're going to look at optimizing your funnels and messaging all the way from ad to purchase. And we're going to look at what growth hacking is and why it's so important to your business going into the future. So welcome, Tony. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Kane, for having me.
You got it. So I want to just get going, and I'm going to let you do a lot of talking and just listening
Sure.
because you are the expert on this. So let's start with media buying.
Okay.
This is not about let's talk about traffic. Okay, this is traffic.
Sure.
But
Sure.
I'll tell you what we're not going to talk about. We're not going to talk about joint ventures. We'll do that in a different
Mhm.
interview. We're not going to talk about, let's say, affiliates. And so we're really going to get down to paid advertising, media buying, as they call it. So paid advertising, media buying, whatever you want to call it, it's essentially spending money to get people in the door and to get clients, I should say. And we're really going to be talking about online because we're not talking about, paid advertising could be magazines, it could be billboards, it could be radio. But really, Tony, your expertise, unless I'm wrong or mistaken, is online advertising.
No, you're right. You're right.
Okay, great. So let's kick off with what do you see is what is media buying to you, and what are some of let's start at the top tier and then we'll dig deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper.
Sure. Sure.
What are some of the top tier things people need to think about and know to make sure that they're effective with their media buying?
Okay, so I'll answer those questions in this order, kind of what I view media buying as, and then what people need to keep in mind when it comes to media buying. And I think I'll just structure that as like the number one mistake I see people make with media buying, and then how to kind of avoid that mistake. If
Great.
this is your first time buying media, if this is your 100th time buying media, if this is the way you're looking at media, it's the wrong way of looking at media and how you should be looking at media. So, for those of you who haven't done a lot of online media buying, essentially that is just a fancy way of saying we buy traffic. Handful of years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago, traffic was kind of this holy grail of online marketing. People were like, how do I get traffic from SEO? How do I get traffic from affiliates? How do I get traffic from all these obscure places? But sites like Facebook, like Twitter, like Google AdWords, Google Display Network, they've made it so that anybody, no matter how experienced you are online, you can buy media and you can buy traffic. Essentially, you can pay for every click that comes to your website. So you can say, I want to spend $100, costs $1 per click. I'll get 100 clicks to my website. It becomes very measurable. It becomes very scalable because of sites like Facebook, like Google, like Twitter that allow us to tap into their traffic networks. So
And sorry,
media,
let me
yeah,
jump in there and just say, so for the
sure.
beginners, that's called pay per click,
Pay per
right?
click, yeah,
So
pay per
PP,
click
you
advertising.
might have heard PPC. Maybe you're like, hey man, that's like 20 years ago. Of course we heard of it, but just for the beginners,
Yeah,
PPC, pay per click, right? Which is
exactly.
different than PPI or pay per impression, right?
Yeah, exactly. Pay per impression. CPM is another way of putting that. Cost per mil, which is the Roman numeral for thousand. Every thousand impressions, you pay a flat fee. So, yeah, there's a lot of different naming conventions for the different kinds of buying you can do, but it all comes down to the same thing. You're buying traffic. The most projectable way of doing that is cost per click because you know exactly how many individual viewers are going to make it to your website. So if you want to be able to measure something effectively in terms of dollars in, dollars out, and scale up and know how much money that's going to cost, cost per click is the way you typically want to go. But anyway, that's all media buying is really. It's just buying traffic, buying eyeballs for your product, for your service, for your ebook, whatever you want it to be.
And real
And
quick, so
yeah,
how important do you think media buying is to a business? This is a little bit rhetorical, but I just want to hear your thoughts on it.
sure. I think media buying is absolutely important in terms of scaling because it's something that you can turn on right now. I can log on to Facebook and never have done it before in my life. And much like we've done in a lot of the promotions that we've done together, Kane, we can say, hey, let's throw 20 grand at this and see what happens. And we can get something statistically significant while we sleep, right? So I think it's absolutely important for scaling, absolutely important for testing. I think that the number one mistake people make in media buying or buying traffic in general is they do it too soon. They start with media buying and they build their foundation on media buying before they actually have unlocked any kind of organic growth and really understand their product in terms of product market fit. This is one thing that you and I did, Kane. Before we dumped tons of money into these promotions from a paid perspective, we made sure that we had a core sample of users that were really hooked on our product. They really liked what we were putting out there in terms of our training, in terms of our support. And then when we got to that point, we knew we were there because people wanted more of it. They were referring. They were doing things that are indicative of a good product. And when we got to that point, we made the decision to say, all right, now let's dump money into it from a paid traffic perspective. So paid traffic really is the last thing we should be doing in terms of business growth and business development. And if we set up our business in terms of unlocking organic growth and finding a good product market fit first, then paid traffic becomes a really easy game.
Okay, so it sounds like what you're saying is that they want to start with things like social media, building a tribe, building a community, testing out their products, making sure people are buying them, that people care, that they know who the market is, that they've tested
Yeah.
this, and they've got a working model.
Yeah, I mean, building a community, having that network effect, obviously, as more people become part of your community, start using your product, it becomes more valuable to the individual user. Those are all parts of developing the product. When you actually wanted to test product market fit, you got to ask the questions to your user base like, hey, what would happen if this product disappeared? How would you feel? If the answer is terrible, then you probably have a good product market fit because people are relying on you. If you've unlocked ways of generating more growth from your user base, you've unlocked organic growth. You have a viral factor. Once you've done those two foundational things, established product market fit, and unlocked all kind of avenues for organic growth from within your current user base, then it's easier to get that positive ROI from paid traffic because it grows beyond just that first new user that you get. So that's why it's good to set these foundational things before you go and dump huge budgets into paid traffic. But when you have these things set up, dumping huge budgets into paid traffic really increases the likelihood of the positive ROI that you're going to get. And that's why we've been successful with the campaigns that we've done. That's why my clients and the companies that I work for are successful with their paid traffic. It's because we set these foundational things, we put them in place first and before we dump all the traffic into it, essentially.
Okay, and we said a couple of things so that I want to just step back to, which is
Sure.
just so that we don't scare people. We said, hey, let's throw $20,000 and see what happens. Now,
No.
that's our business, right? We
Yeah,
can throw 20
sure.
grand in it and see what happens. But
Sure.
for the and of course our clients listening are everything from the home-based business, the coach who wants to
Right.
drive leads, all the way to multi-international companies. So
Mm.
let's start with the tiny little business. What is a
Sure.
could they do it on $50 a day? Could they do it on $100 a day? Like